Good morning.
If we're really quiet, Carmel, do you think we'll be able to hear the gentle whispers coming that we may be speaking with New Zealand's next Prime Minister?
Well, I certainly think that Nicola rates herself, and there seems to be a lot going on in there. I think while she was away, the conversations around rolling the leadership really ramped up. So she's come back and she's like, I'm here, don't forget, I could be a contender too.
Oh, for goodness sake. Carmel, you can do better than that.
Okay.
Ingrid, not on the cards, just an exuberant fan. And I tell you what, in this job, as Carmel will know, there's plenty of people who are up to criticise you and say all sorts of things, and every now and then there's a fan who's just as exuberant in the other direction. And that's all there is to it. That is all there is to it.
Okay. Aside from being hailed as the next PM in London, how was the trip?
Look, it was fantastic because I think what I saw was, one, that the people who lend New Zealand money at the moment, because we're borrowing to ensure that we can keep our schools and hospitals going even during the economic downturn, they see New Zealand as a good bet. They can see that we're a sensible government doing the right things to manage the public finances. They back our plan. They also think New Zealand's a country that's destined to grow a lot in the next few years. It's a safe, secure place with good exporters. And so it was really nice to hear that positive reaction from investors, bond rating agencies, people who are objectively looking at our country free from the politics we have at home.
What's your message to the squeezed middle who might not care about the international credit rating and to other Kiwis who are struggling? Is it just hang on for now?
Well, my message to them is, boy, oh boy, you've had an incredibly tough 3 years, and we really feel that. And what we have to do as a country is make sure that we build foundations to get things better. The reason the rating agencies matter to you is if they were to downgrade us because we lost control of the books, that would make your credit card more expensive, it would make your mortgage more expensive, and it would mean that the government would have to spend even more servicing our debt. And remember, we're spending enough to service our debt to build around 6 Waterview tunnels every year into the future. That's how much we're having to pay for the debt that we built up during COVID. So it's important the government gets that under control so that our finances in future can be redirected to the priorities that Kiwis have.
Okay, Carmel, could be worse, but could be better.
I think Nicola needs to recognise that so much of that debt has actually been built up under her watch. They decided to give out tax cuts that they were told were unaffordable and give tax breaks to places like landlords, $2.9 billion to landlords, tax breaks to the tobacco industry. I think New Zealanders are questioning the priorities of this government. Whilst New Zealanders are struggling with finding employment, getting access to good health care, getting homes, and of course the cost of living, there doesn't seem to be any real action from this government whatsoever.
Those agencies, though, were saying, that you either need to spend less or tax more. So where would you be going?
Well, look, our priority would certainly be on what I've mentioned already. We need support for New Zealanders.
How would you pay for it?
We need support for New Zealanders to get into work.
And how would you pay for it?
Well, we certainly wouldn't be giving tax breaks.
How would you pay
valued
for it?
Of $2.9 billion, $2.9 billion to landlords. Our focus would be on work and jobs. We wouldn't have been pausing infrastructure projects and ending up with 18,000 fewer jobs in the construction industry. It's about choices, Nicola, and your government have made choices that are completely out of step with what New Zealanders want.
Okay, so she gave a long answer, and this is exactly Labour's problem. They want to promise everyone everything, and they will not front up with how they want to pay for it, because the way they want to pay for it is putting new taxes on an economy that is already struggling, putting more taxes on New Zealanders already struggling with the cost of living, and they want to wink at you and pretend that will make things better.
It's not the case. It's about priorities and how a government spends
will make
money.
Things worse.
And the way that this government have spent money has meant that their mates, a few people, have benefited, but the rest of New Zealand is struggling.
Carmel, I'm sorry, but what we delivered was tax relief to low and middle income families that you are saying you would not have given them. So that would have taken tens of dollars every fortnight out of people's paychecks.
What we have done, giving with one hand and then taking so much away with another.
Because Nicola, the issue here is that people can't afford the basics. Even with that, we've had the interest rates going down. That's been gobbled up by rates, insurance and food and mince and butter.
Yeah, and those are concerns for our government. On the rates front, we're very concerned that those rates bills coming in are hitting people hard. We've sent a very clear message to local government that they need to pull their socks up. We are working on reforms there to constrain them because it is the case that those bills are really hurting people. On food prices, we really get that. Now, partly, of course, that's because global demand for dairy products and meat is high, and you really are seeing that reflected at the supermarket checkout aisle. But on the other hand, it is, I also think, an aspect of not having good enough competition between our supermarket sector. Now, the last government attempted some reforms in that area. It's pretty clear they're not delivering enough. So we are working hard on what the next steps are to ensure that shoppers get a better deal.
Now, what are those next steps? Because where is the third player? Has anyone...
Can I also just add, let's remember, this was a government that promised thousands of families $250 extra a fortnight through their Family Boost scheme. And now they can't identify one family who have received it. So they promised relief before the last election, and no one is feeling that relief with the cost of living.
I am just going to correct a factual error there, because there are more than 60,000 families that have received a cheque, money into their bank account from IRD as a consequence of Family Boost. Everyone who has applied has received their full entitlement.
$250,
and actually, Carmel, there's
Nicola?
a human reality to that. I saw at Parliament a couple of weeks ago an Uber driver. He stopped me. He said, I want a photo with you because that Family Boost money has made such a difference to my family. It has made it possible for us to balance our household budget, and I'm incredibly grateful. So you can kind of have a political point about it, Carmel, but that is real cost of living relief to people at a time in life that's very expensive.
And no one is getting it.
Well, let's be clear. What we said was that it would be a proportion of the fees you pay. So you could only get that amount if you're paying $300 a week or more in early childhood fees. The reality is not every family is paying that much, but what they are entitled to, it used to be 25% refund on their fees if they're in the correct income band, and now we've increased it to a 40% refund. So $4 out of every $10 they pay for early childhood education, if they're in the relevant income bands, they get back. That's really meaningful relief.
Let's move on. I'm glad you had another exuberant fan, so that's two now, Nicola. Well done to you. Let's move on to teachers and correcting